Class A state champions, the Rebels of FRA.
And we had a lot of school spirit. Pretty much, and get up to 90, 91, everybody would go to the football games. I remember in 91 in particular, we had some televised games, and the new stadium back then, which it was made in the late 80s, would be completely filled, and people would be standing down each ends. And the news cameras, the dishes, they'd have to make, go out with trucks, put dishes up, would be hard pressed to even get a spot somewhere to broadcast the game. We would be on maybe 1 or 2 weeks of the season. So that was pretty neat. It was just a lot of enthusiasm. Game 1, we went into the Knoxville Webb School. Well, we felt like the whole school was just, as one. I mean, everybody was asking the football team, what are we doing next week? Where are we going? And, I would like to thank all the coaches for the time they spent. Back then we didn't have a weights coach. We all put in summer time in the weight room and time together on Sundays. Our normal day on Sundays during the season for those 15 weeks was 12 noon to about 10 o'clock at night on Sundays, looking at film, meeting kids, working out. We had Gary Clark, a really, really good defensive coordinator. One of the best, and I worked with him for, 15 years, I guess. So we got to know each other. He had the whole deal on defense. He just came in and told me what we were going to do. I never did tell him. He just said, here's the plan this week. I said, great, that's pretty good. David Tucker, he was the offensive coordinator. He kind of shared that with me all the time. And Dennis Harrison was a pretty big influence on me. He played at Vanderbilt when I was coaching over there, kind of finished up when I was starting. And we always said if he ever got rid of playing, NFL, if he was out of the NFL, he'd come over. And he did. He worked with us probably a half dozen years. And he really, he was a great influence to a lot of kids coming through. And all of these people that play football here came up underneath watching him do PE over in elementary school, and it was just a great contrast. So, yeah, those were the guys basically that worked. And Ed Zabrowski was a coach and then became athletic director. So he paved the way for all the facilities. In fact, that football field one year was ranked the top football field turf-wise in the stadium in the state of Tennessee when he was athletic director. So also the administration was really tremendously behind us. It was a school that really appreciated what athletics meant in the entire picture of the school. The athletics didn't drive the school, but it had a big part in the picture of the school, and they really supported us in what we did. Game number 2, Salina. In the winter after football was over, we had pretty much everybody in winter weights that was going to play football the next year. We had lost a lot of good players from the 1990 season. Our defense returned 7 starters. Only 4 starters returned to the offense. Therefore, we're going to have to be very patient. We had to be very patient on offense and not try and do things that we're not capable of early in the year, and try to get our 4 new linemen adjusted to playing against different defenses in different positions. Game number 3, Trousdale County. When we finished 90, we graduated almost everybody on the offensive line, and we knew we had a bunch of skill position people back. We just had to train up a line. And distinctly, a couple of offensive guards, I can remember in the back hallway back here challenging them at the end of winter weights to get up to bench 225. They would weigh 165 pounds. So to each of the rising seniors, I put out some ideas as to where I wanted them to be and how they, how to conduct themselves and how to lead. And then we had, you got to have 2 classes together to win a championship. You can't have, hardly ever will happen with sophomores and seniors. It has to be junior, senior, or however you can get the 2 together. And luckily, right below these 16 seniors was a small class of juniors, of which 2 went and played in the SEC football. Jason Tomachek of Vanderbilt was a junior in the Clinic Bowl year, and also Greg Johnson. So they had 2 guys underneath of them that were huge in helping their, get us all the way through. And also we had an all-state kicker, Brink Fiddler, who was in that junior class. So we only had maybe 6 juniors go with those, a whole lot of seniors, but that was what we needed. We had 52 guys total, 16 seniors. And I remember growing up, we always had 10 events they would go through to rank, who had worked out in the summer, who could do this, who could do that, push-ups, sit-ups, bench, the 40, and over 20 guys. We looked at our stopwatches, over 20 guys ran 5 and under. I believe actually it was an under 5, 40, which unheard of. We had guys just in special teams that could run down the field and make tackles that they weren't even playing much. And man, they could flat out run. So that really gave us a lot of practice time against speed also. Those guys that weren't playing one way were practicing against the defense, and maybe this guy was a third receiver that could challenge the defense. So we had, our Monday through Thursdays were just like game days almost, and we got a lot better. By the time the playoffs got there, we got a lot better. Game number 4 versus Davidson Academy. Right now at FRA, we have organized 5th and 6th grade football to go along with our middle school and high school. Well, way back when, this 91 team, the special group of guys, most of them started in 3rd and 4th grade playing organized football. And it wasn't just in little leagues around. We had Coach Johnson organized all the guys in 3rd and 4th grade, and they actually played a 6-7 game schedule. So they knew each other. By the time they got to middle school, they knew each other pretty well. And I remember distinctly after their middle school season, sitting it turned out to be 16 of them together down, and our varsity coaches coming up and saying, look, if you guys will just stay together, keep together in school, there's a possibility of winning a state championship with all you guys in the room. That's how good you could be if you worked at it. And I remember looking at each other and thinking, wow, these guys really believe in us. So they all stayed. We didn't lose anybody from that great Little League team on up. So they basically played together 9, almost 10 years. You don't ever see that nowadays. Game number 5, South Spencer. In 1991, our regular season goals were unity under God, overcoming adversity, which is huge in any sport you play, believing in each other, giving 110% every day, every game, mentally and physically. Number 5 was interesting for defense in particular, legal intimidation. And by that we meant trying to get as many people around the ball to the tackle as possible. And then number 6, back-to-back district championships. Something, you don't really want something negative to happen, but if something negative happens early on, that everybody has to get on the boat together, it helps your season a bunch. Jason Tomachek, who came from Harding Academy, had never really played football, went through his first 2 years not playing much. He was a big basketball guy. And as a rising junior, he was penciled in, big guy. He wound up being 6'5", about 240, to be the tight end. Well, he came down with mono. He was out the first 5 games. We had to scuffle and actually put a flanker at tight end, never played the position for the first 5 games. So basically that let somebody else go in and play flanker. So we had some depth now. When Jason came back, we now had 3 or 4 receivers instead of just 2 that we could utilize. Also, our center, I remember, if I'm correct, in camp, tore his, maybe his MCL, so he would have been out again another 8 to 10 weeks. We had to throw somebody in at center, and actually that guy came back and played in the Clinic Bowl game and did a whale of a job for us, but that gave us an offensive line depth. We had to use other people. So that's the main 2 things I think that happened is early on we had to shuffle, but we had a lot to choose from. And all those guys, they understood now, I'm standing second in line, but just one guy gets sick or hurt, I'm on the field. You know, so they're practicing hard and they're doing everything they can do.
Game number 7, our homecoming game versus Trenton Peabody. Our homecoming game presented a lot of problems to us. We had a lot of activities going on, a pep rally in which I did a strange thing and danced on top of the press box, which I don't know what possessed me to do that.
Somehow Linda Ballou said to me, look, if we win the first 5, if we just win the first 5, homecoming week, will you dance on top of the press box? And I said, look at what we got. We got Knoxville Webb, we got Trousdale County, we got a team from Indiana we've never played. In my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way we'll win the first 5. There's no we will be 4-1, I hope, you know, but we won't win the first 5. Well, we won the first 5, so there I am on top of the press box up there, dancing right before the homecoming game that we lost. We lost 28-26. So yeah, that was a bad time for me. Yeah. I hope it's not on tape anywhere.
Game number 8, DCA. Game number 9, at Westmoreland. Number 10, Ezell Harding. At home, our last home game for our seniors, regular season. I don't believe anybody until game 10 really had their sights on a state championship. And after that game 10, we looked back over our season and came to the conclusion that, hey, if we got a little hot in the playoffs, somebody was going to have to win it out of 16 teams, and it could be us.
You know, one of the things people don't remember about the year is we weren't even ranked in the top 10 in the state when the regular season ended. We had lost 2 out of the last 4 games. We were not ranked in the top 10 starting the playoffs. You know, here it is. Here's the final rankings. Where are we? We're not there anywhere. You know, so let's take it one week at a time and let's make sure we get some respect every week. Postseason goals were to increase our intensity levels, encourage each other, make a big time commitment to us, be fundamentally sound, seek perfection, and number 6, go for the big trophy.
Game number 11, McEwen. We are hosting the first round of the playoffs. Game 12 versus Salina. Game 13, what a game. Going down to Greenback, Tennessee, the site of the 1987 playoff game in which we got defeated and packed our equipment up. I really believed at the beginning of this game, if we could win this game, this was the important game of the year, that we could win the state championship. The thing I remember most about this game at Greenback was the drive, in quotations. We took the ball with about 7 minutes left on the clock and ran 14 or 15 offensive plays and didn't pass the ball one time and moved from about the 45 or 50 yard line down to the 1 yard line with about 20 some odd seconds and kicked the winning field goal.
Finley to attempt the field goal. The field goal is up and good.
I think after that game, every kid on the team knew that it was time to win a state championship. We established some things in that game, being able to travel, being able to play against a good team, and getting the job done. So we knew at that point that we were the hot team. We were the team to beat going into the state championship.
As the line, continue for Johnson as the game comes to a close.
We host Whitwell High School, a AA team that was dropped down to single A. But the big advantage we had, and this was a distinct advantage that was different than any other year we've ever been in playoffs, is we've never hosted this round 4 of the playoffs. And we knew that this was our game. This was our home game to win. Game 15, the big one, state championship at Vanderbilt.
Something interesting happened on Monday. You know, a Saturday game, you have an extra day of practice. So Monday we go out there and we're getting everything set, and they probably ran the ball regular season against us for over 300 yards. I mean, they just control the ball the whole game. So we had to come up with a plan to get the ball back, really, to get the plays 50-50 instead of them running 30 and us, or them running 70 and us running 35. So Coach Clark came up with what he thought was a really good defense. We got there on Monday, and we're out there, and it looks, he's defending everything, and I'm thinking, how is he's defending everything? Nothing is getting through. So I started counting up all the players, and he had 12 guys on the field defending the little offense they were running. It worked well with 12, so we had to eliminate one of the safeties. We're sharing the same locker room that Vanderbilt football used, so we have a big space in there, and I can remember right before the game, the wind was blowing pretty well, basically when we saw any kind of a wind to begin a game that year, we had such a good kicker that he was almost 100% putting the ball in the end zone if he had any kind of wind to his back. So basically, I just said, look, guys, the game plan's been the same, these 15 weeks. We flip the coin. If we win it, we defer. We're going to kick it in the end zone. We're going to defend them. We're going to get the ball on the 50-yard line and score. And that's exactly, it went just like that. We held them. They kicked. We jumped off sides one time. We scored on the very first play of the game, offensively. And it was, everybody expected to do that. So it was pretty cool. Going to Vanderbilt to play the championship game in '91, their whole side was completely filled at Vanderbilt underneath the press box. I don't know how many thousands of people, but it was a really cool atmosphere. We were playing a team that had beaten us in the regular season, and when they beat us, we had a wide receiver, Matt Gardner, catch 3, maybe 4 touchdown passes against them. That's how we scored all of our points on passing. Okay, so going into the Clinic Bowl, he had a fractured wrist, I believe. He was going to be in a soft cast. He wasn't going to catch much, but they didn't know that. The other team didn't know that, so they set their game plan to stop him. And now I kind of figured they would, and we just trained the running game. But that was another problem. One of our better running backs had a fractured ankle going into the game, a hairline fracture, and he actually played. Todd Jenkins, he played as a linebacker and halfway as a running back also. So Greg Johnson had to slip in, never really carried the ball much at fullback, and he did the last 3 or 4 games a little bit more and more, and then a lot in the Clinic Bowl. He had an injury the first half, somehow tore off one of his thumbnails. So he had to come in, get a doctor, had to operate, just kind of go through things at halftime. And I didn't watch it much, which was good. It was pretty gruesome. But he wound up playing the game too. So we overcame a lot of situations. And again, that makes you, if it doesn't just kill you, it makes you stronger. It was either 24-0, 24-6, and we had marched down, and it's at the end of the game. The game has pretty much been decided. Not a whole lot can happen in the remaining couple of minutes. So we get down there, and it's going to be a field goal, probably 30 to 35-yard field goal. It should be a chip shot for our guy. I mean, he's hit 50-yard field goals, and he had to make the final score 27-6. So we line up for the field goal. And I remember on the wire, well, it was actually wired devices back then. It was headphones with cords. That our kicker was not on the field. And I'm scanning all the numbers out there, and I see that the second team kicker's on the field to kick this. And I'm thinking, okay, well maybe our special teams guys put the second guy out there. And then I'm listening on my headphones, and Coach Clark is uttering some things that I normally don't say to my kids nowadays. And he doesn't really want that second team kicker out there. He wants to kick it, and so we don't have any problems with somebody blocking one, running one back, or doing something. So before we could do anything, ball snap, kicks away, it's good. So the second string kicker wound up being the best friend of the first string kicker, and kind of nudged the first string kicker into faking an injury to get on the field. you know, and kick a field goal in the Clinic Bowl. So it was pretty good for those guys. Not good for us at the time being, but it was good for those guys. It was just, you know, it was an awesome year. Something that I would hope that every coach at one time in their coaching career would get an opportunity to get to a level like that and see how fun it is when kids come together and you know, basically go all the way up to the level of potential that they're capable of having. And even the guys that don't get in much feel like you have a role on the team. I think the biggest thing I think that football teaches you is life's going to knock you down. You know, when you're down, how fast are you going to get up? You're going to stay down, you're going to get up. Football, if you don't get up, then you got the next play coming right over you again. So, in essence, bounce back, you know, get rid of the bad and bounce back to the next thing. You know, you've heard over and over, it's not about having something bad happen to you, it's how you react to it. And basically, playing for each other, being part of a team, huge in life. You're going to have to do that anywhere you are. Well, I think in many ways it put us on the big picture, big map of Tennessee. You know, we had won a couple of baseball championships, but baseball, as big a sport as baseball is, it's not like a football championship. You know, it's something that the school, you could see it building towards all the way through. And a lot's got to go your way to win a championship. One crucial injury, or one guy getting mono, or you know, there's a lot of things could happen to destroy that 1 week that you needed to have a win. You know, so it was huge. It put us on the map in terms of big time football. Just think back, number one, on the journey, how much fun. The last day was a lot of fun, but how much fun the journey was. Man, we went 15 weeks of football. It's never happened before in our school's history. I mean, it was pretty wild to get ready to go every week for 15 weeks. We started sweating. We wound up freezing.
To the Class A state champions, the Rebels of FRA.